Hey everyone, if you want to make your own podcast but you don't know where to begin, Spotify for Podcasters makes it super easy. They've got everything in one place, it's totally free, and you can make money while doing it. Here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start doing it today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and pretty much everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also supported, and you can even conduct polls and Q&As. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, the platform is totally free. No catch, totally free. When I wanted to start my own podcast, I did not know where to begin, and I didn't think it was even possible. And Spotify for Podcasters made it happen. They made it easy, they made it quick, and I am doing something that I love. What more can I ask for? So if you're interested in starting your own show, you can do it, and I highly recommend you give this a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started.
Hey everybody, just wanted to give you a quick reminder that you can go to Ethan Natural Botanicals website using the link in the description of this podcast and use the coupon code EverythingKratom to get a great discount off of all Etha's Kratom products. All right, on with the show. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Everything Kratom, the podcast about anything and everything Kratom. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday morning. Hoping all's well with you. I'm doing great. Today, we're going to be going over a presentation that was just given recently by the College on Problems of Drug Dependence, or CPDD, looking at international late-breaking abstracts. So a bunch of different studies that are just coming out. And specifically, a study that was focused on the withdrawal symptoms, any potential withdrawal symptoms of people using Kratom. It's a really neat study, and it's ongoing, but the first results are out. So let's dive into it. So here we go. So this is from the College on Problems of Drug Dependence. I will put the link to this presentation video in the description of this podcast. There are a lot of abstracts mentioned in this presentation, but if you want to go to the Kratom one specifically, you can head to minutes, I think it was like minute 35 is when they bring up Kratom. I think 35 minutes and 30 seconds into the video or something like that. So I will link that there. Now, here we go. So this starts off, the presenters talking about how a lot of people who use Kratom report some mild withdrawal symptoms, but generally they're more mild and of shorter duration than, say, opioids. And this is something that's always been contentious. So this study basically was conducted as a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled human trial conducted to determine the safety and tolerability of Kratom. The study was approved by Health Canada, and it involved escalating single and repeated oral doses of Kratom leaf powder, leaf extract, and metragenine isolated over a 14-day period. So over 14 days, 198 participants took Kratom at an escalated rate. They used the Clinical Opiate Withdrawal Scale, and that's called the COWS scale. And then there's also the Subjective Opioid Withdrawal Scale, which is called the SOWS scale, which is just, self-administered by the participant. And these are studies that, like these techniques are techniques that you see everywhere in government research, private research, New England Journal of Medicine, you name it, it's been there. So this is a legit study as far as I can tell. Now, they talk about how they have a number of phases, but this is phase 1 of the project. And now let's get into the really interesting stuff. So in terms of the specifics, each person of the 198 participants, they were given 500 milligrams dried kratom leaf powder. And that contained 6.7 milligrams of metragenine. That's the first kratom formulation. The second one, they were given 25 milligrams kratom extract powder containing 9.9 milligrams of mitragynine. And then finally, the third formulation, they were given 11.2 milligrams mitragynine isolate, containing 11.2 milligrams mitragynine. So they almost doubled the amount of mitragynine the person was getting. Over the course of the 14 days, they had like 30 or 40 visits with the participants and checked in with them. And, I'm assuming they probably took vitals, things like that. And they did this administration of Kratom. And after the 14 days, so here's where we get to the results. Half of this study is still ongoing and it's going to finish in July, but the first half of the study is done. And so with these 198 participants taking Kratom every day for 14 days in an escalating dose, let's look at their scores. So the cows and the sows scores, remember these are both ways of measuring opiate withdrawal. One is clinically and is given by someone, and the other one is subjective, and so that one is self-administered. Think of it as like a self-administered survey, indicating how you're feeling in this way and that way, and then you can help determine if you're going through a withdrawal and how bad. So it's pretty good because it both relies on the person themselves and a doctor. So let's look at their scores. This presentation laid out that cows' scores, so the clinically given score, if it ranges between 5 and 12, that indicates a mild opiate withdrawal. And when you look at these people's scores, they score less than 1 out of all cohorts, taking all the different formulations of Kratom. They all scored less than 1. And this is following up, after the 14 days, and then they stop cold turkey with Kratom. 12 hours, then they're followed up with 2 days, and then, 3 days later, nothing. Less than 1. And remember, a mild opiate withdrawal is 5 to 12. Less than 1. Now, let's look at their subjective. So this is self-administered, and their SOUS scores, if you have between a 0 and 64, that identifies an increasing opioid withdrawal symptom, depending on the height of the number. And their SOUS scores all were less than 1.5 on that scale of 0 to 64. Less than 1.5. That includes everyone, all the different formulations of Kratom, every dose. And after 14 days, following up with them 1 day, 2 days, and 3 days after stopping cold turkey. So that is pretty wild. Their conclusion: after 14 days of consumption of up to 29.6 milligrams daily of mitragynine, neither the cows nor the sows' scores indicate withdrawal effects. So this is major. I mean, that is really helpful for me to put into perspective, because now I want to talk about what this means in my mind. Of course, this does not mean, Kratom is safe, no one ever gets withdrawals, the end, right? Like, it's not a nail in the coffin. But the thing that's really important about this to me is there are different ways of viewing Kratom with regards to withdrawal. When I look up on Reddit all of these addiction stories and people going through terrible, horrific withdrawals, they're talking about taking like 80, 50, 30, 50, 80, something around there, grams a day of Kratom and doing it for years. And then they stop cold turkey and they go through these withdrawals. I have always been very clear on this. I think my record is pretty straightforward here. I've always said that I believe them. Like, I totally believe that people go through that at that level. I have not seen people taking smaller doses of Kratom go through that, and I have never experienced that. So I feel like if there's any real danger of withdrawal symptoms that are actually mild or worse, that it would come from taking absurd amounts of Kratom for a very long time. In this study, these people are taking, like 25, 26 milligrams of mitragynine per day for 14 days. So it's a short term, it's 2 weeks, and then they're stopping cold turkey. So this study, in my mind, doesn't, disprove any withdrawal effects or symptoms following Kratom use, but what it does is point towards the very, in all likelihood, that using Kratom at not an absurd level, like taking like standard doses of Kratom every day for 2 weeks and then stopping cold turkey, it's very likely that you will not experience any withdrawal symptoms, or extremely, extremely limited withdrawal symptoms. That is telling. And I think that that's a really important piece of data. And, I'm sure we won't see this referenced anywhere by the FDA, right? Or anyone else for that matter. But it's really, really neat. And it's the sort of research that needs to continue. This is exactly the sort of research that needs to continue. It's very straightforward. It's not a complex study. Anyone can understand the general idea of this study. 200 people take Kratom every day for 2 weeks. All of this is very controlled. It's also like placebo-blind study so that people don't even know if they're really taking it or not. And then you see if they have withdrawals or not. And none of them did. So that's a pretty powerful statement there, and it's got data to back it up. So I'm going to start referencing this. I'm happy to do so. And really looking at it, I think that it seems like a pretty legit study. So that's great. One thing I would mention, there are some overlaps with some of the scientific bodies that they worked with for this study. Mainly, I saw Pinney Associates referenced there, and Pinney has the connection to the AKA and puts out that 8-factor analysis every couple of years. That's something that I would flag, especially given the recent episode I did on the negative aspects of the Kratom industry. That article, the 4-part series of articles in Courthouse News, they were talking about all the corruption at the top levels of the Kratom industry, and however much weight you want to put in there, I would say that when you're looking at a study and you see the same scientific institution referenced, as the one that works with a lobbying group for Kratom, that should be taken into account. That being said, I also want to, be mindful of the fact that these people did their homework. Like, it's not like this study is corrupted. This study seems fairly straightforward, and they're giving it in a presentation along with many other studies that don't reference Pinney Associates. And, some of these studies I kind of breeze through have very similar methods. So it really does seem like a pretty legit study done well. And I don't know, it's kind of exciting, and it's also reaffirming, it reaffirms this idea in my mind that Kratom, if used responsibly at a lower level, even if you're taking it every day for a couple weeks, there's not much of a risk of having to deal with any sort of withdrawal that resembles any sort of withdrawal with any other drug that you might get a withdrawal from. But still, good to be mindful of the fact that this is just a 2-week trial. This is not like giving people, your average dose of Kratom for a year. Maybe that would show withdrawal symptoms. We don't know, but it's the exact sort of research that I want to keep seeing, and I'm excited to see it. So definitely want to hear what you think about this. Let me know. Write to me, anythingeverythingkratom@gmail.com, and keep these studies coming. Let's do this. I want to learn more data, please. I'm such a nerd. Okay, everybody, have a great rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow. Bye-bye.